Discipline doesn't begin when things are easy. It begins the moment you feel like quitting, but choose to move anyway. It's that quiet decision, made in the dark, when no one's watching, when everything in you wants comfort, but something deeper says, no, not yet. That something, call it will, call it purpose, call it soul, is what separates those who drift through life from those who shape it. The Stoics knew this well. They didn't chase control over the world. They mastered the only kingdom that matters, the one within. Self-discipline isn't about punishment. It's the practice of becoming untouchable, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Not because you avoid chaos, but because you no longer bend to it. And in a world that rewards distraction, the ability to stay centered is nothing short of power. If you're on a path to become more than your impulses, to live by principle, not pressure, then consider subscribing for the part of you that's ready to take the reins. 1. The law of inner command. There's a war happening every morning before your feet even hit the floor. You feel it, that moment of stillness when the alarm buzzes and your mind throws you excuses like candy. You didn't sleep enough. Just 5 more minutes. You'll start tomorrow. And just like that, without realizing it, your first decision of the day was made by your mood. The law of inner command is about breaking that cycle. It's about reclaiming those quiet moments when you usually hand over your life to temporary feelings. The Stoics weren't superheroes. They were human, tired, overwhelmed, tempted, just like you. But they understood one thing deeply. The gap between what you feel and what you choose is where your freedom lives. That tiny space, it's everything. It's where character is built, where habits are shaped, where power is born. You don't become disciplined by waiting for perfect mornings. You become disciplined by getting up when you don't want to, by making one small decision that favors your future over your feelings. And those small decisions add up. You're not just brushing your teeth or stretching or skipping the snooze button. You're training. You're becoming someone whose actions no longer depend on their moods. Because if you don't set the tone, something else will. A bad dream, a stressful email, a memory that lingers longer than it should. And then the day runs you. But when you lead from within, everything changes. You move through problems without being consumed by them. You speak with clarity even when you're angry. You walk into chaos with a calm that rattles people. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." That's what happens when you let emotions take the wheel. You mistake reaction for destiny. You think life is happening to you when really you just haven't grabbed the reins. But you can. Every time you choose action over avoidance, breath over panic, silence over lashing out, you're rewriting the program. You're becoming the author again, and you don't need to be perfect. You just need to be aware. Because self-mastery doesn't come from suppressing emotion. It comes from studying it, watching it rise, naming it, understanding it like an old friend that shows up uninvited but no longer controls the room. Strength isn't loud. It's not about appearing tough. It's about being the one who doesn't flinch when everything shakes. You lead not by dominating others, but by refusing to be dominated by yourself. That's what it means to live with inner command. It's not about never feeling anxious, sad, distracted, or tired. It's about not letting those feelings decide your behavior. You still show up. You still do the thing. You still keep your word. That's power. Quiet, steady, earned power. So when the next wave hits, and it will, don't ask, "Why am I feeling this way?" Ask instead, "What can I still do in spite of it?" That's where the magic is. That's how you become the one people look to when the world gets loud. Because you've trained in silence, you've practiced restraint, You've learned to hold the line between what pulls you and what drives you, and that practice becomes your edge. While others fall into moods and lose hours or days recovering, you recover in seconds, because you've done it before, because you've built something solid inside, unshakable, calm, disciplined. Inner command isn't something you're born with. It's something you build through the small, uncomfortable moments where you choose principle over preference, where you say yes to the thing you said you would do, even when your body says no. And eventually, that identity becomes who you are. You stop needing motivation because your discipline moves without it. You stop chasing external structure because your mind has become its own compass. And you stop breaking promises to yourself because the version of you who makes them is the same one who keeps them. There will be setbacks. You'll slip. You'll catch yourself reacting to things you thought you'd mastered. That's not failure. That's feedback. Inner command isn't perfection. It's awareness. It's returning to the path faster, with less drama and more grace. And over time, people will notice. They won't always say it, but they'll feel it. That you're not easily shaken, that you're steady, that you think before you act. And in a noisy world, that kind of presence feels like leadership, not because you force it, but because you've learned to lead yourself. Tomorrow morning, when your mind whispers its list of reasons to delay, pause, just for a moment. Breathe and act. Let that be the first win of the day, the first vote for the person you're becoming. The world doesn't need more people chasing hype. It needs more people building quiet control. Start there. Start now. Because the longer you wait to master your moods, the longer you wait to own your life. 2. The law of strategic restraint. We live in a world that worships urgency. React now, respond instantly, post it before you think it through. The louder you are, the more people seem to pay attention. But here's the thing most people miss. Silence isn't weakness, it's a strategy. The ability to pause when provoked, to stay still while everyone else scrambles, is not passive, it's powerful. When you react to everything, you become predictable, easy to manipulate, easy to throw off balance. But when you learn to hold your response, to observe instead of rush in, you become something rare, someone who can't be baited, someone who chooses the timing, not just the reaction. That kind of control unsettles people. They don't know what you're thinking, and that mystery becomes your strength. There's a kind of dominance that doesn't require force. It comes from self-possession, from knowing that your energy is valuable and not everyone deserves a piece of it. Strategic restraint isn't about shutting yourself off. It's about choosing when, where, and how you engage. It's learning that not every battle is worth fighting, and not every invitation to chaos deserves a response. When someone pushes your buttons and you don't move, you send a message louder than any words. You say, "I'm not controlled by this. I decide when to speak, when to act, when to care." And that kind of stillness, it terrifies the insecure. Because they live on reaction, they need your attention to feel significant. When you take that away, you expose the truth. They have no real power over you. Epictetus said, "If someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation." That line hits deep because it reminds us that no one makes us react. We choose it, whether we realize it or not. Every time we jump to explain ourselves, argue back, or lash out, we've allowed someone else to set our pace. But when you step back, when you breathe instead of boil, you reclaim your power. That's what Stoic restraint is about. It's not emotional suppression, it's emotional redirection. You feel the surge, but you don't let it steer the wheel. You observe it, you name it, and you decide if it serves your higher path. If it doesn't, you let it pass like a wave that never quite reaches shore. You'll notice something when you start practicing restraint. The noise fades. The drama shrinks. You stop being pulled into petty things. You stop needing to explain yourself to people who've already made up their minds. You stop trying to prove your worth in conversations that were never about truth to begin with. That silence becomes your filter. It protects your peace. It protects your energy. It protects your clarity. And in that space, you start to hear your own thoughts again, clean, undisturbed, sharp. While others are busy performing, you're preparing. While they're reacting, you're learning. You're watching patterns, taking mental notes, letting the moment reveal more than words ever could. Because people always show themselves if you give them enough space. You don't have to force it. Some will call you cold. Some will accuse you of being distant. That's fine. Let them misunderstand you. Let them guess. That discomfort they feel isn't your problem. It's their reaction to your peace. Most people are uncomfortable around someone they can't read or rattle, but you're not here to make everyone comfortable. You're here to live aligned, to stay clear, to protect your emotional resources like they're gold, because they are. There is nothing weak about choosing calm over chaos. There is nothing passive about choosing to be selective with your energy. That's how you last. That's how you gain depth, not just speed. In a world sprinting toward burnout, restraint is a long game most people aren't strong enough to play. Socrates once said, "I know that I am intelligent because I know that I know nothing." That kind of humility pairs perfectly with restraint. It reminds you that you don't need to win every argument, prove every point, or fix every misunderstanding. Sometimes, the most intelligent thing you can do is simply stay silent. Let people believe what they need to. You know who you are. You know what you're building. You know your values. And when you know those things deeply, you stop needing to explain them constantly. That doesn't mean you never speak. It means that when you do, your words carry weight. Because you weren't speaking just to be heard. You were speaking with intention. The world gives power to those who hold their center. Think about that. The people who make the biggest impact aren't the loudest. They're the ones who speak the least, but say the most. The ones whose energy walks into the room before they do. The ones who don't need to chase attention because their presence commands it. That's what restraint builds. It builds gravity, stillness, composure. And yes, that makes you harder to access. But it also makes you harder to replace. While others are diluted by overexposure, you become valuable through scarcity. You speak less, but people listen more. You show up less, but people remember more. And not because you're trying to be mysterious, but because you're not wasting your breath where it doesn't matter. Restraint is intentional. It's trained. It's built through years of observing your own patterns and learning how to interrupt them, through deciding over and over that peace matters more than being right, that clarity matters more than control, that direction matters more than distraction. And once you learn that, you can't go back. You start to recognize how much time you used to waste trying to fix, explain, or manage other people's emotions. And you let go, not out of apathy, but out of alignment. You focus on what you can control, and you let the rest fall away. Strategic restraint gives you space to build. It's the quiet shield that keeps you focused when the world is chaotic. It's the skill that turns triggers into tools. Instead of exploding, you evaluate. Instead of defending, you decide. Instead of rushing, you return to stillness. That kind of behavior is rare, and that's exactly why it's so powerful. Most people are slaves to their reactions. You're not. You've trained, you've waited, you've learned to respond, not from impulse, but from vision. And in that space, you don't just survive the noise, you rise above it. You become a reference point for others, not because you shouted over them, but because you didn't need to. Next time you feel the pull, the urge to jump in, to clap back, to spill your energy on things that don't build you, pause. Let the silence speak. Let your stillness say what words never could. And remember, restraint is not the absence of power. It's power at rest, power held, power chosen. And that kind of power, it lasts. 3. The law of sacred routine. Some people make discipline look effortless. They wake up early, get things done, stay consistent even on the days when everything feels off. And it's not that they're built differently, it's that they've made the hard parts automatic. They've built routines that run whether they feel like showing up or not. That's the secret most people miss. Discipline doesn't come from bursts of inspiration. It grows from repetition, quiet, steady, ordinary repetition. Not the kind that impresses people, but the kind that changes you when no one's watching. Sacred routine isn't about becoming a machine. It's about aligning your actions with your values so tightly that doing the right thing becomes your default. When your day has a rhythm, everything moves smoother. You don't have to argue with yourself about getting out of bed or whether you're going to train today. You just do it, because that's what you do. The Stoics taught that we should live according to nature, not just the world around us, but our own deeper nature. And that nature becomes clearer the more you remove friction from your life. Friction like indecision, friction like waiting for motivation. When your actions are tied to who you are instead of how you feel, you free up your mind to focus on the bigger things. Life becomes less about constant effort and more about quiet momentum. You don't need to overhaul your life overnight. Sacred routine starts small. One morning habit, one evening wind down, one block of time each day where you protect your focus. Maybe it's 10 minutes of silence. Maybe it's a walk. Maybe it's simply writing down what you want to accomplish tomorrow. What matters is consistency, because every repeated action is a vote for your future. You're literally sculpting your identity through repetition. And once your habits match your purpose, discipline stops feeling like force. It starts feeling like flow. There's a quiet confidence that comes with structure. It doesn't mean you're rigid, it means you're rooted. Even when life throws you off, you return to your rhythm. You don't spiral, you don't get lost, you just reset. That's the beauty of routine. It's a lifeline. When everything feels chaotic, your systems give you something solid to stand on. That's why Stoicism emphasizes preparation, not just for crisis, but for living well in every ordinary moment. Epictetus said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." That's the foundation of routine. Decide who you are, then prove it with what you do, again and again and again. Sacred routine doesn't demand that you be perfect. It just asks you to show up, to make small, intentional movements in the direction you want to go. You won't always feel inspired. Some days you'll be tired, distracted, unmotivated. That's expected. But the disciplined don't wait for the right feeling. They move anyway. And it's that motion, slow, imperfect, consistent, that builds the mental strength most people chase through hacks and hype. While others seek intensity, you're focused on continuity. While they burn out chasing peaks, you're quietly stacking bricks. Carl Jung once said, "You are what you do, not what you say you'll do." And that truth cuts deep, because we all have ideas of who we want to be, but without routine, those ideas float. They fade. You may mean well, but unless your calendar reflects it, your identity never takes shape. That's why routine isn't just about time management. It's about character. You're training your nervous system to trust you, to believe that when you say something matters, you'll follow through. That trust becomes a foundation for everything else. Confidence, resilience, peace. Think about the energy you waste when you don't have structure. Every decision becomes heavier. Should I work now or later? Should I scroll for 5 minutes or start the project? Should I skip the gym just this once? Without routine, you're constantly negotiating with yourself, and that negotiation drains willpower. But when the structure is set, you conserve that energy. You act without the inner tug of war. That freedom isn't restrictive. It's liberating. You stop relying on fleeting motivation and start depending on your systems. There's something sacred about repetition. Doing something not because it's new or exciting, but because it grounds you, because it connects today to tomorrow, because it reminds you of who you're becoming. Seneca wrote, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." That proof often begins in daily practice, not in grand, heroic acts, but in the quiet discipline of showing up again, of writing when you're uninspired, of training when you're sore, of reflecting when you'd rather distract. These aren't just habits. They're signals to your future self that you're not leaving your growth up to chance. The beauty of sacred routine is that it adapts as you grow. What worked for you last year may need to shift now. That's not failure. That's refinement. The disciplined don't cling to structure. They evolve it. They simplify it. They remove what's no longer serving the purpose and double down on what does. That's how you keep the momentum fresh. You stay flexible in form, but fixed in principle. And over time, the routine becomes more than just action. It becomes rhythm. It becomes stability. It becomes identity. Aristotle said, "We are what we repeatedly do." Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. That's the quiet truth behind greatness, behind peace, behind progress that lasts. It's not about occasional effort. It's about what you keep returning to. The disciplined don't need to hype themselves up every day. They've built a life that runs on purpose, a life that doesn't collapse when things get hard, because it's been built brick by brick in the ordinary hours. If you feel lost, start there. Don't look for massive change, look for rhythm. Build one habit, then another, then protect them like they matter, because they do. Not because they impress anyone, but because they shape you. That's what sacred routine really is. It's the art of remembering who you are, even when the world gets noisy. It's the structure that holds you when your emotions can't. And it's the proof that every step, no matter how small, is a step towards something solid, something lasting, something worthy of who you're becoming. 4. The law of enduring strength. Everyone wants to begin. The spark is easy. That moment of clarity where you decide, this is it, I'm changing. You buy the planner, you clean the room, you write the goals. And for a little while, it feels like progress. But beginnings are deceptive. They trick you into thinking momentum is permanent. They don't warn you about the mornings when nothing feels worth it, about the weeks where life stacks weight on your shoulders and asks you to keep walking anyway. That's where most people disappear, not because they lacked talent or ideas, but because they lacked endurance, the ability to continue, not just when it's hard, but when it's boring, thankless, invisible. That's the real separator. That's where the difference is made between those who talk and those who become. Endurance isn't glamorous. It doesn't post well on social media. It doesn't get applause. In fact, it usually goes unnoticed at first. But it's the seed of every transformation that lasts. Because endurance isn't about blind persistence. It's about clarity under weight. It's knowing what you're building and holding to it, even when the emotion fades, even when you feel forgotten, even when doubt starts whispering in your ear. Most people chase motivation like it's the answer, but motivation is unstable. It comes and goes like the weather. Endurance is different. It's rooted in decision, in character, in the quiet belief that your path matters, even when it's invisible to everyone else. There will always be a voice in your head telling you it's okay to stop. that no one would blame you, that you've already done enough. But the disciplined part of you, the part you've been training in silence, knows better. It doesn't seek validation, it seeks victory. Not loud victory, but personal victory. The kind no one else may notice, but you feel in your bones. The Stoics believed in preparation for difficulty, not avoidance of it. They didn't see pain as something to fear. They saw it as a forge, a place where values are proven and strength is shaped. Epictetus once said, "Difficulties are things that show a person what they are," and that's the core of enduring strength. It's not how you act when things are easy, it's who you remain when life applies pressure. There will be setbacks. There will be long seasons where progress is slow, unclear, even invisible. The disciplined man keeps going, not because he enjoys the hardship, but because he respects the process. He understands that the reward isn't always immediate, that growth often happens beneath the surface, out of sight, like roots stretching into soil. And one day, while others wonder how he's so composed, so capable, so calm, they'll forget the years of invisible effort that built that foundation. Because that's what endurance does. It compounds. Every day you push through, even a little, you're adding to a structure they can't see. A mental fortress that becomes harder and harder to shake. Carl Jung said, "I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become." And what you become isn't determined by how well you start, but how often you stay. How often you pick yourself up after falling. How often you choose patience over panic. And yes, that choice is hard. Some days you'll question everything. Some days your energy will be gone, and all you'll have left is commitment. That's enough. That's the test. Not whether you shine, but whether you show up in the dark. Whether you can keep your integrity when no one is clapping. That's what gives your word weight. That's what makes your strength real. Most people quit right before the curve turns, right before the results begin to show, because they expected fast feedback, they expected smooth, but the path of mastery is long, repetitive, and often quiet. It's why consistency is so rare, not because people don't want to succeed, but because they expect ease, and they walk away when it's not there. The disciplined person sees the difficulty and stays anyway. They don't mistake discomfort for a stop sign. They use it as a signal that they're entering territory where most won't follow. And that's where the advantage is built, not in extraordinary bursts, but in ordinary repetition. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That strength isn't flashy. It doesn't show up in loud declarations. It shows up in the quiet refusal to break, in the decision to try again after failure, in the choice to hold a standard even when no one else seems to care. And over time, that consistency becomes intimidating. People won't always understand it. They'll say you're too serious, too focused, too committed. That's fine. Let them underestimate what slow, steady growth can do. Let them overlook what happens when you refuse to quit. The world respects what doesn't fold under pressure, what doesn't vanish when things get tough. Most people quit and then blame the system, blame the circumstances, but deep down, they know it wasn't the system. It was the lack of staying power. The absence of that inner resolve that keeps moving when things feel heavy, when things feel pointless, when things feel lonely. That resolve isn't inherited, it's built. Through days where you'd rather be anywhere else, doing anything else, but you stay. And every time you stay, you're proving to yourself that you're no longer controlled by feelings alone, that your actions are rooted in something deeper than convenience. Seneca said, "Sometimes even to live is an act of courage, and sometimes to continue is the highest expression of discipline. To wake up and try again, to show up with sore muscles, with a tired heart, with no spotlight, and still give your best. Because deep down, you know something most people never learn. Strength isn't a moment, it's a habit. And that habit is built through resistance, through fatigue, through failure. Each one of those moments is shaping you, not punishing you, shaping you, teaching you how to last. And when the storms come, and they will, you won't have to fake your calm. You'll have earned it. Enduring strength isn't loud. It doesn't need to be. It's not something you need to prove. It's something you carry. And when others fall apart under pressure, you'll hold your ground. Not because you're fearless, but because you've walked through fear enough times to stop letting it lead. You've built a rhythm that survives chaos, a mindset that expects challenge, and a discipline that doesn't wait to feel ready. It just moves. That movement, slow, steady, intentional, is what separates the people who fade from the ones who are remembered, and not because they were the loudest, but because they were still standing when the noise died down. 5. The law of controlled impulse. There's a moment so brief most people never notice it, but it's where everything about your life gets decided. That tiny space between an urge and what you do with it. It's invisible, but it holds your future. That's where the law of controlled impulse begins. One quick swipe, and suddenly you've lost 45 minutes. One sarcastic reply, and a relationship starts to crack. One late-night craving, and the habit you were building breaks apart. The problem isn't that you feel things, it's that you let them vote without a filter. Controlled impulse isn't about killing emotion. It's about stretching that space between the spark and the fire, turning a reflex into a decision. And when you learn to do that, even just a little, you start to realize how much power you've been giving away. Impulse wants you to move fast. It wants you to click, eat, react, shout, escape. It whispers, just this once. It promises ease. But what it rarely offers is clarity. What feels urgent in the moment usually looks foolish in hindsight. So instead of obeying that sudden pull, pause. Just pause. Take a breath. Ask yourself, is this reaction really mine? Or is it something I've just repeated for so long it feels automatic? You don't need to judge it. You just need to see it. Because the moment you observe an impulse, you interrupt its grip. And in that gap, however small, you step back into the driver's seat. You stop being dragged. You start choosing. The Stoics didn't aim to erase emotion. They aimed to understand it, to sit with it like a guest, not a dictator, to feel anger rise but not let it steer the wheel, to sense desire but not let it lead them into places they'd regret. You learn to hold the emotion without being held by it. There's a dignity in restraint, a calm sort of strength that comes from knowing you could react but didn't, that you saw the flame and chose not to throw fuel on it. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. Most people are just acting out patterns they've never taken time to examine. They think they're making choices, but they're really just responding to programming, old wounds, unchecked habits, environmental noise. When you slow down and shine light on those patterns, you create options. You begin to replace reaction with reflection. You can feel envy without letting it eat you. You can feel shame without letting it shut you down. You can feel attraction, distraction, frustration, and instead of letting them run wild, you hold them in your hands and ask, what would the best version of me do with this? You're not here to live like a robot. You're here to live with intention, and that means learning to channel energy, not escape it. Anger can become drive, fear can become focus. Even temptation, when examined honestly, can reveal what you actually need, not just what you crave. But that transformation doesn't happen by default. It happens through repetition, through the little daily moments where you choose not to lash out, where you walk away from a dopamine trap, where you resist the urge to numb yourself and instead sit with what's real. That's where you build strength, not on the surface, but in the core. Think of your impulse like a wave. It rises, crashes, and fades. If you react during the rise, you're at its mercy. But if you wait, even 30 seconds, you'll often find the wave loses its pull. You get your mind back. You remember your values. You choose with clarity, not compulsion. That's why so much of controlled impulse is about simple grounding rituals. When the urge hits, take a breath, step outside, write down what you're feeling instead of acting it out. These aren't tricks, they're tools. They give you distance, they give you power, and over time they help you retrain the nervous system to respond with calm instead of chaos. Aristotle said, "What lies in our power to do, lies in our power not to do." You don't owe your energy to every trigger. You don't need to finish every argument. You don't need to satisfy every craving. That's not repression, that's redirection. It's the difference between being driven and being dragged. And once you feel that difference, even just once, it's hard to go back. You start to enjoy the feeling of not giving in, of walking away from something that used to control you. That's real progress. Not a loud, flashy change, but a quiet reclaiming of your agency. The more you practice restraint, the more you trust yourself. That's something people don't talk about enough. Most people struggle with confidence because deep down, they know they've betrayed themselves too many times. They've made promises they didn't keep. They've acted out of impulse and then cleaned up the mess later. But when you start making different choices, when you start showing yourself that you can hold the line, you rebuild that trust. You stop needing external validation. You stop fearing discomfort. You become someone who doesn't flinch every time the world presses a button. Plato once said, "The first and best victory is to conquer self." That victory isn't loud. It doesn't come with a medal, but it changes everything. Because when you can say no to the things that weaken you, you open space for the things that grow you. You no longer need to run from your urges because they no longer run you. You start living from principle, not pressure. From wisdom, not reaction. From clarity, not confusion. Controlled impulse doesn't mean becoming someone you're not. It means becoming who you really are, beneath the noise, beneath the habits, beneath the distractions. It's your ability to respond like the person you want to be, not just the person you've been. That's freedom. Not doing whatever you feel, but doing what aligns with who you're building. That's the shift. That's the power. And it begins in the smallest space, the space between thought and action. That's where you win. One moment at a time, one choice at a time, until reaction becomes response, and your life begins to reflect not your urges, but your values. 6. The law of energy preservation. You wake up with a full battery, but by noon you feel drained. And it's not because you ran a marathon or built something meaningful. It's because you leaked your energy through meaningless conversations, through scrolling past things that made you angry but changed nothing, through explaining yourself to people who never really wanted to understand, through tiny, constant reactions to everything that doesn't matter. And yet you wonder where your drive went. It didn't vanish. It was scattered, wasted on things that only take, never give. That's the quiet danger of living without boundaries. It's not loud, it's not dramatic, it's just a slow leak. And over time it robs you of everything that matters. Energy preservation isn't about hiding from life, it's about becoming selective with your engagement. It's about realizing that you're not supposed to be available for everything, to everyone, all the time. Just because something asks for your attention doesn't mean it deserves it. The Stoics understood this deeply. They knew that your energy is your most sacred currency. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Ask yourself at every moment, is this necessary?" That's not just about tasks. It's about people, platforms, habits, thoughts. Because not everything that enters your world deserves to stay. Look around at your daily life. How much of it feeds you, and how much of it feeds on you? How many of your conversations leave you lighter, more focused, more clear? And how many leave you feeling heavy, like your brain's been scraped raw? Energy preservation starts with honest audits, with cutting ties not out of cruelty, but out of self-respect. You weren't made to hold everyone's chaos. You weren't designed to react to every headline, every notification, every insult. You're here to build, to think, to grow. And those things require energy, clean, focused, unpolluted energy. The people you keep closest should sharpen you, not drain you. That doesn't mean they always agree with you. It means they challenge you with care. They push you forward, not pull you sideways. Seneca once said, "Associate with people who are likely to improve you." The reverse is also true. Distance yourself from those who bring confusion, drama, or distraction. Not because you hate them, but because you love your peace, and you're finally realizing how rare and valuable it is. Think of your attention like water flowing through a pipe. Every crack, every split, every leak weakens the pressure. If you let that water go wherever it wants, it evaporates. But when you fix the leaks and point it with purpose, it becomes force. That's how focused people operate. It's not that they have more energy, it's that they waste less. They don't get pulled into every comment section. They don't debate people who argue in bad faith. They don't chase 5 things and call it ambition. They go deep. They conserve. They protect their fuel for the battles that matter. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." But how can you do that when your energy is constantly hijacked by noise? Becoming yourself requires stillness, reflection, depth, none of which survive in a mind that's always plugged in and pulled apart. That's why you need to create pockets of protection, time that belongs to no one but you. A space where your thoughts aren't shaped by other people's chaos, where your mind can breathe. Because a tired mind doesn't build, it reacts, it copies, it survives, but it doesn't create. Energy preservation also means respecting your body, your food, your rest, your breath. You don't have to be extreme. You just have to be intentional. Drink water when your mind feels foggy. Step outside when the walls start to press in. Move your body before your thoughts turn toxic. The smallest acts often create the biggest shifts, and once you realize that your physical habits are the foundation of your mental state, you stop treating them like optional chores. You start seeing them as pillars, because a depleted body will always carry a scattered mind. You don't need to do more, you need to do less, with more meaning. Stop measuring your days by how much you fit in. Start measuring them by how much of what you did actually mattered. 1 clear hour beats 6 distracted ones. 1 meaningful conversation beats 5 draining ones. 1 decision backed by full presence beats 10 rushed guesses. You're not running out of time, you're running out of attention. That's what needs to change. Aristotle said, "The energy of the mind is the essence of life." If that's true, then every time you spend your energy without awareness, you're chipping away at your essence. And for what? For a dopamine hit? For the illusion of being caught up? For approval from people who wouldn't notice if you disappeared tomorrow? That's not living, that's leaking. And when you stop leaking, you start leading. Your thoughts get sharper, your decisions get cleaner, your inner voice gets louder, because finally there's space for it to speak. You'll know you're preserving your energy when you start saying no more often, when silence becomes your default, not your discomfort, when you stop jumping into things just because they feel urgent, and when people start wondering how you're so calm, so focused, so clear. They'll assume it's talent or luck, But it's not. It's discipline. The discipline of choosing peace over participation, of choosing depth over noise, of choosing intentional fuel over constant burnout. This doesn't mean you become indifferent or disconnected. It means you become centered, grounded in what matters, anchored to what builds you. And when the noise gets loud again, as it always will, you won't be swept up. You'll know what to do. You'll know what to ignore, what to release, what to conserve, because you'll remember your energy is not unlimited, but your ability to choose where it flows. That's a superpower. And the more you respect it, the more powerful you become. Quietly, fully, without asking for permission. 7. The law of disciplined vision. Discipline without vision is just momentum in the dark. You might be running hard, checking all the boxes, even outperforming others, but if you don't know why you're doing it, you'll eventually crash. Maybe not all at once, but slowly, silently, like a building with no foundation. That's what makes this law different. It's not about effort, it's about direction. And if your direction isn't clear, your discipline becomes a mask. You look productive, but you feel empty. You're moving fast, but you're not getting anywhere that matters. The Stoics understood that power without purpose leads to ruin. It's not enough to be consistent. You have to be intentional. What are you building? Who are you becoming? Not on the surface, but beneath it. Your vision doesn't need to impress anyone. It doesn't have to be grand, but it has to be real. Something you can hold on to when motivation disappears. Something solid enough to carry you through the messiness of life. Because life will get messy. And when it does, the people who lack direction start chasing everything. Anything to feel in control. But those who've defined their vision, they stay rooted. Their path doesn't vanish. It sharpens. That's the difference disciplined vision makes. It filters the noise. It protects your time. It removes guilt from saying no. When you know your mountain, you stop wandering into valleys that don't matter. Every action starts to carry weight. You don't just wake up early, you wake up aligned. You don't just work hard, you work toward. That distinction changes everything. The moment you connect discipline to vision, your life stops feeling like a to-do list and starts feeling like a mission. A quiet, personal mission that doesn't beg for approval but refuses to be ignored. And yet most people skip this step. They copy goals from others, chase the images fed to them, and wonder why their progress feels hollow. But vision isn't inherited, it's discovered. Not in noise, but in stillness. In sitting with yourself, not the highlight reels. Carl Jung said, "Your vision will become clear only when you look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakens." That awakening doesn't come from chasing. It comes from remembering. From cutting through the pressure and asking yourself, what actually matters to me? That question requires courage, because it often reveals that you've been building the wrong things for the wrong reasons. But that realization isn't failure. It's freedom. Once you know what you truly want, what aligns with your values, your nature, your rhythm, then discipline becomes a tool, not a burden. You stop forcing things that don't fit. You stop clinging to goals that impress others, but starve your soul. You start building something that lasts because it comes from who you really are, not who you're pretending to be. Vision doesn't remove struggle. It gives it meaning. When you're clear on your direction, you can endure more. Sacrifice doesn't feel like loss. It feels like construction. You're not just skipping the party or waking up early or walking away from distractions. You're laying bricks. Each choice becomes a thread in something much bigger, something that's forming quietly in the background while the rest of the world chases quick wins. That long-term focus, grounded in disciplined vision, is what separates noise from legacy. Socrates once said, The unexamined life is not worth living. But it's not enough to reflect. You have to align. Reflection without alignment is just mental clutter. The disciplined person uses reflection like a compass. Every week, every month, every season, they zoom out. They ask, am I moving toward what I said matters? Do my habits reflect my values? Are my actions building a life I actually respect? That kind of questioning doesn't weaken your pace. It sharpens it. You don't change direction every time life gets hard, but you do adjust. You refine. You adapt while staying loyal to the core of your mission. That's what most people get wrong about vision. They think it has to be fixed, unmoving, permanent. But disciplined vision grows with you. It matures. The details shift, but the center, the core values, the deeper calling stays. That's what you return to when life shakes you. That's the compass you hold when the path ahead gets foggy. Because even if you can't see the full mountain, you know the direction. And that's enough to keep walking. Aristotle said, knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. When you know what you want, and more importantly why, then your no's become stronger. Your distractions become easier to walk away from. You no longer say yes out of fear of missing out. You say yes out of alignment. You say no out of clarity. And slowly, your life starts to reflect something rare, inner order. The outside may still be chaotic, but inside, you're structured, calm, directed. This is where real confidence is born, not from hype or fake positivity, but from knowing that every day you're honoring a vision that actually means something. You're not wasting your life climbing someone else's ladder. You're building your own. And that kind of inner congruence shows in the way you speak, in the way you walk into a room, in the way you don't flinch when others doubt you. Because you're not performing, you're aligned. That alignment radiates. It makes you steady when others shake. It makes you magnetic without needing to impress. You don't need a perfect roadmap, but you do need a direction that speaks to your soul. Something worth waking up for, worth protecting, worth sacrificing for. That's the anchor of disciplined vision. It's what gives your hard days a purpose and your small wins a deeper satisfaction. It's what turns effort into devotion, routine into ritual, and life into something that feels designed, not just survived. So if you've been doing everything right but still feel off, zoom out. Not to find more to do, but to remember why you started in the first place. Your vision won't scream, it whispers. And if you're quiet enough, still enough, honest enough, you'll hear it. And once you do, you'll realize that every moment of discipline was never just about control. It was always about becoming, about building something you could live inside, not escape from. Because at the end of the day, discipline is the engine, but vision is the road. And when they move in sync, you don't just move, you arrive, quietly, steadily, with every step stitched to something real. That's how you build a life that doesn't just look strong, but feels unshakable. Every step you take with clarity becomes a seed for the life you're meant to build. Discipline alone can carry you forward, but when it walks hand in hand with vision, you don't just move, you become unstoppable. Stay focused, stay grounded. And remember, the quiet work you do today is shaping the strength they'll never see coming. Watch the next video on your screen to keep sharpening your path. And thank you for being a part of Stoic Journal, where every moment becomes a choice and every choice becomes a legacy.